Ryan Foster had always hated the sound of metal scraping against metal. It dragged him straight back to his childhood, long days in his father's workshop, sparks flying, steel screaming under stress. Back then it had meant work. Right now, on a forgotten research station orbiting an unnamed gas giant, it meant danger. He shoved away from his desk, mineral samples rattling in their trays, and grabbed his toolkit off the wall. The station was old, corporate scrap bought cheap after a mining company collapsed, and it showed. 6 rooms, 6 months of isolation. That was the deal when he'd signed up to study the geology of Theta 7, a moon nobody cared about. The scraping came again, louder, and beneath it something worse, a thin, high-pitched sound, not mechanical, not the station crying. Ryan broke into a jog, boots clanging through the narrow corridors. When he reached the airlock chamber, frost spider webbed across the inner door window. His stomach dropped. The control panel confirmed that the outer airlock was sealed, but the chamber temperature read 70 Bregi C. Something alive was trapped between the doors. He pulled up the external camera feed and forgot how to breathe. 3 small creatures huddled against the outer hatch. Red scales glittered under ice crystals. Tiny wings were folded tight, long tails curled around one another for warmth. One lifted its head, and a pair of large golden eyes stared straight into the camera. Dragons, not legends, not stories. Real, and they were dying. Ryan didn't think about protocol. He didn't think about paperwork or consequences or the fact that drainids, if this was what they were, came from far beyond human space. He slammed the emergency override. The inner door hissed open. Heat blasted into the frozen chamber as Ryan lunged forward, snatching an emergency thermal blanket from the wall. Cold punched into his skin, burning his lungs with every breath, but he wrapped the blanket around the 3 trembling bodies and hauled them inside. The inner door sealed. He cranked the heat to maximum and slid down onto the floor, clutching the bundle. For long seconds, nothing happened. Then one pair of golden eyes opened. A small chirp sounded, weak but alive, and a cold snout pressed into Ryan's hand. The others stirred. Tiny claws latched into the blanket. They crawled closer to his body heat, shaking easing as warmth returned. Ryan sat there for 20 minutes, unmoving, afraid even breathing might break the moment. When the ice finally melted from their scales, the red beneath gleamed like polished rubies. They lived. He carried them to his quarters and laid them on his bed. They burrowed into his blankets instantly, purring softly. The smallest one climbed into his lap, curled up, and went to sleep like it had decided he was home. Ryan stared down at them, heart pounding. Tomorrow, he told himself. Tomorrow he'd figure out what to do. Tonight they just needed to be safe. Protein bars, it turned out, were dragon candy. Ryan discovered this on the second morning, when the smallest hatchling, Scarlet, he'd started calling her, ripped open his emergency food crate and scattered chocolate, flavored bars across the common room. Ruby tackled her sister to steal one. Crimson grabbed a bar and retreated tactically to a corner. Ryan gave up on containment entirely after Ruby learned how to open doors by watching him press buttons. They communicated without words, feelings, impressions, flashes of images in his mind, excitement, curiosity, fear. Scarlet's distress hit him hardest whenever he left the room without her. They followed him everywhere. He tried to work. Ruby walked across his keyboard. Crimson claimed his monitor as a perch. Scarlet climbed onto his chest and purred until the vibration rattled his ribs. So Ryan adapted. He talked to them while doing system checks. He let Ruby hoard spare parts like treasure. He watched all 3 press against the fusion generator's heat shields with obvious bliss. He took notes. Scientific, careful notes. They weren't identical. Ruby was fearless. Crimson was observant. Scarlet was bonded deeply, emotionally, to him. They weren't just hatchlings. They were people. That night, while 3 tiny bodies slept on his chest, space itself folded open above Theta 7. A drained war fleet arrived. Matriarch Sarah felt her rage before she felt the stars slow around her. Her hatchlings were alive. The biosignatures confirmed it. 3 heartbeats, 3 minds. On a human station. Boarding craft, she ordered. Voice iron. Non-lethal weapons. I lead. She would not risk her children. The station was silent when she tore the door from its frame, and then she stopped. A human sat against the wall, hands raised, not in fear but concern. On his chest, in a nest of blankets and stolen clothing, slept her hatchlings. They purred. That sound, contentment, hit Sarah harder than any weapon. The human whispered, desperate, "Please don't wake them." She smelled him. Fear, yes, but beneath it exhaustion, care, something unmistakable. Pack, he told his story. About the airlock, the cold, the feeding, the sleepless nights, the notes, the effort. Sarah watched his hands steady scarlet without him realizing it. Slowly, her fury cracked, and something warmer took its place. Hatchlings bond, she told him quietly. They choose those who protect them. They have chosen you. Ryan swallowed. Then I accept. The word echoed louder than any battle cry. Helios 4 rose from the mountains like a dream carved in stone and fire. Ryan walked its platforms with 3 hatchlings trailing him like shadows. He learned fast. With help. With patience. Dragons taught him boundaries, language, care, and dragons watched him, not as an outsider, as Pack. When Sarah offered the adoption ceremony, Ryan didn't hesitate. At sunset, before hundreds of red-scaled dragons, he spoke the words that changed everything. I accept the bond. When the pack reached out, mind to mind, Ryan nearly collapsed under the weight of it. Welcome, family. Later, under alien stars, scarlet curled against his chest. Ruby draped a wing over crimson. Sarah sat beside them, silent and watchful. Do you regret it? She asked. Ryan looked at the 3 lives that had rewritten his future. No, he said softly. Not for a second. Far away, diplomats would argue. Scientists would theorize. Historians would debate first contact protocols. But none of that mattered, because a human had opened an airlock door for 3 freezing strangers. And the universe had answered with family.